Introducing to you my group presentation on Comprehensive Analysis Financial Performance 2016 until 2020. Assalamualaikum, I am the first presenter. My name is Muhammad Amir Hakim bin Rahimi. Introducing to you the group member. Firstly, Muhammad Aidil Haziq bin Rosnizam. Second, Muhammad Ashraf bin Zainal Abidin. And last but not least, Muhammad Aizat Hussein bin Shahruddin. On this presentation, we will focusing on 4 main issues, which are company fundamental information, trend analysis year 2016-2020, cooperative analysis year 2016 until 2020, and conclusion from the financial performance. The Petron Malaysia Group is part of the Petron Corporation in the Philippines, an emerging and rapidly evolving Asian oil company. Petron Corporation joined Malaysia dynamic and progressive market with the acquisition of ExxonMobil's downstream business in March 2012. Petron's subsidiary in Malaysia comprised of Petron Malaysia Refining and Marketing Berhad (PMRMB), a public company listed on the main board of Bursa Malaysia Securities Berhad, Petron Fuel International Sdn Berhad, and Petron Oil and Sdn Berhad. Here is the mission of the Petron Malaysia. And here is the vision of Petron Malaysia. The core activity for Petron Malaysia is retail, transportation, storage and logistics, refinery, crude oil, commercial and LPG. Petronas, an acronym for Petroleum Nasional Berhad, was a Malaysian national petroleum company that was owned and controlled by the Malaysian government. Petronas, which was granted complete ownership and management of the country's oil and gas resource under the Petroleum Development Act of 1974, has expanded to become a fully integrated petroleum company, progressively diversifying from its upstream operation into a downstream industry. Currently, Petronas' business activity on both a domestic and foreign basis is carried out by the diverse community of businesses. The Petronas Group of Company included 41 wholly owned subsidiaries, 20 partially owned subsidiaries, and 21 affiliated companies. Here is a mission and a vision for Petronas Gas Berhad. The core activity for Petronas is retail, transportation, storage and logistics, refinery, crude oil, marketing, and LPG.
Now, I will explain about the ratio for Petron Malaysia. For liquidity ratio, as shown on the graph, the highest current ratio for Petron Malaysia at 2017 with the ratio of 1.44 times within 2016 to 2020. It shows that in 2017, the company is highly capable to pay its short-term debt. For 2020, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the company faced the lowest current ratio within the 5 years at 0.75 times. It means that the company is slightly incapable in order to pay its short-term debt. For quick ratio, the highest quick ratio recorded between these 5 years is at 2018, which is 0.9 times. Despite having the highest ratio, Petron Malaysia is slightly incapable to meet their short-term obligation without relying on inventory. The lowest quick ratio is from year 2020 because of pandemic that has been faced by world. The net working capital shows the highest net working capital for Petron Malaysia is in 2018, which amounting at 519,594. It shows that Petron Malaysia is doing well during that year because it shows that the company current asset is more than the current liability. However, in 2020, the company faced negative net working capital, which is negative 267,419 because of the pandemic happened that year. That made the company facing problem to cover for their current liability. For activity ratio, the highest inventory turnover ratio for Petron Malaysia is in 2018, which is 17.9 times. It shows that Petron Malaysia does have an efficient inventory management and high volume of sales on that year. The lowest inventory turnover is at 2016 with the ratio of 9.91. It shows in 2016 the company was less efficient than the rest of the year. In average credit sales, the best year for average credit sales is in 2020, which is 12 days. It shows that Petron Malaysia effective in collecting debt in short period of time. The less performed for average credit ratio is in 2016. The company spent more times to collect their debt. The highest fixed asset turnover for Petron Malaysia is in 2018 with the ratio of 9.53 times. It shows that the company has a good fixed asset turnover in that year because they are more efficient by using fixed asset to generate sales. The lowest is in 2020. The company faced lower ratio because of the global pandemic. For the last activity ratio, the highest total asset turnover for Petron Malaysia is in 2018, which is 3.84 times. It shows that this company is good at that year because the more total asset turnover Petron Malaysia have, it will help promote their sales revenue. For leverage ratio, the most performed debt ratio for Petron Malaysia is in 2020, which is 41.51%. It shows that Petron Malaysia have a lower risk of bankruptcy compared to other years. The worst debt ratio is in 2016 with a ratio of 56.02%. The most performed debt to equity ratio for Petron Malaysia is in 2020, which is 70.98%. Although it is the most performed within these 5 years, it shows that these companies still rely on long-term creditors supplies fund than the owners fund. The highest times interest earned for Petron Malaysia are from 2016 and 2017 with the same amount of time, which is 41.32 times. This indicates that in the year of 2016 and 2017, Petron Malaysia have the best ability to meet its debt obligation based on its current income. In profitability ratio, the highest gross profit margin for Petron Malaysia is in 2016, which is 7.42%. It shows that Petron Malaysia did well in managing and controlling its cost of goods sold in the year 2016. However, in the year 2017 to 2020, the margin is decreasing, but Petron Malaysia is still efficiently in controlling the sales price and cost of goods sales. The highest operating profit margin for Petron Malaysia is in 2016, which is 7.05%. Higher ratio is profitable as it shows that Petron Malaysia is doing well in 2016, that Petron Malaysia is incurring lower operating expenses. The highest net profit margin for Petron Malaysia is in 2017, which is 3.91%. It shows that Petron Malaysia can control low operating expenses and good pricing strategies every year, and the best was in 2017 compared with other years. Petron Malaysia's best return on asset is 14.88% in the year 2017. It demonstrates that Petron Malaysia is doing well in that year because the company is successful in its asset utilization effectively. Lastly, Petron Malaysia's highest return on equity is 26.80% in the year of 2017. It demonstrates that Petron Malaysia is doing well that year, as the company accepts good and strong investment. Next, for the market ratio, Petron Malaysia's highest earning per share is 150.1 cents in the year 2017. However, Petron Malaysia's earning per share are decreasing year after year due to the company's lower profit compared to its share price. Petron Malaysia will pay the highest dividend per share of 25 cents in 2017. This indicates that the company is making losses. It further illustrates that the company's overall financial position is not stable. The highest dividend payout ratio was in 2016. This indicates that Petron Malaysia have good cash flows and can allocate their dividend constantly in the future to the shareholder. The highest dividend yield ratio was 300% in 2016. The dividend yield ratio has been decreasing by years. However, this implies that Petron Malaysia paid a very high dividend over the market value of its shares. This will entice a new investor to put money into the firms. Last but not least, the highest price earning ratio was 17 in 2018. This illustrates that the company is having a higher market price over earning per share in the year 2018 compared to another year.
Hello, my name is Mama Ashraf bin Zain Abidin. So I will explain about Petronas Gas Berhad trend analysis for year 2016 until 2020. So we start with liquidity ratio. Okay, for current ratio, the highest current ratio of Petronas Gas Berhad is in 2018, which is 7.04 times compared to another year. It shows that Petronas' capabilities to pay its short-term debt is the best in 2018. Nevertheless, throughout these 5 years, Petronas is showing a good current ratio as well. It is all above 2 times. Next, we move to quick ratio. The highest quick ratio of Petronas Gas Berhad is 6.94 times in 2018. It shows Petronas Gas Berhad capable to meet their short-term obligation without relying on inventory in every year. Next, we move to net working capital. The highest net working capital for Petronas Gas Berhad is in 2019, which amount at RM 4,124,969. It shows that Petronas Gas Berhad is doing well at year 2019 because it shows the firm current asset is more than current liability. In activity ratio, we start with inventory turnover. The highest inventory turnover ratio for Petronas Gas Berhad is in 2020, which is 65.32 times. This indicates that Petronas Gas Berhad does have an efficient inventory management and high volume of sales. Then we move to average credit sales. The lowest average credit sales for Petronas Gas Berhad is in 2020, which is 48 days. It shows that Petronas Gas Berhad is better ACP in that year because they are effectively in collecting debt in short period. Okay, we move to fixed asset turnover and total asset turnover. For fixed asset turnover, the highest total asset turnover for Petronas Gas Berhad is in 2018, which is 0.40 times. It shows that Petronas Gas Berhad has a good fixed asset turnover in that year because they are more efficient by using fixed asset to generate sales. In debt ratio, the lowest debt ratio for Petronas Gas Berhad is in 2016, which is 26.53%. It shows that Petronas Gas Berhad have a low risk of bankruptcy in 2016 compared to other years. For debt to equity ratio, the lowest debt to equity ratio for Petronas Gas Berhad is in 2016, which is 36.12%. It shows that Petronas Gas Berhad does not rely on the long-term creditor suppliers funds than the owners funds. Time interest earned. The highest time interest earned for Petronas Gas Berhad is in 2016, which is 22.74 times. This indicates that in that year, which is 2016, Petronas Gas Berhad have the best ability to meet its debt obligation based on its current income. Refer to the graph. The gross profit margin, the highest gross profit margin for Petronas Gas Berhad is in 2020, which is 47.50%. It shows that Petronas Gas Berhad did well in managing and controlling its cost of goods sold in the year 2020. However, the differences in the margin between the year are so minimal, and this indicates that Petronas Gas Berhad have an efficient and effective way to managing its sales price and cost of sales. We move to operating profit margin. The highest operating profit margin for Petronas Gas Berhad is in 2020, which is 47.75%. It shows that Petronas Gas Berhad is doing well in 2020, as it shows the Petronas Gas Berhad is incurring lower operating expenses. Then, net profit margin. The highest net profit margin for Petronas Gas Berhad is in 2016, which is 38.07%. It shows that Petronas Gas Berhad can control low operating expenses and good pricing strategies every year, and the best was in 2016. Petronas Gas Berhad best return on asset is 11.35% in 2020. It demonstrates that Petronas Gas Berhad is doing well in that year because the company is successful in its asset utilization. Return on equity. Petronas Gas Berhad highest return on equity is 16.06% in 2020. It demonstrates that Petronas Gas Berhad is doing well that year as the company accepts significant investment. So, the first ratio for market ratio is earning per share Petronas Gas Berhad highest earning per share is 101.6 cent in 2020. Petronas Gas Berhad earning per share are increasing year after year due to the company's highest profit compared to its share price. Then, Petronas Gas Berhad will pay the highest dividend per share of 127 cent in 2020. This indicates that the company is profitable. The company itself has a long track record of success. It further illustrates that the company's overall financial position is stable. Then we move to dividend payout ratio. The highest dividend payout ratio was in 2020. This indicates that Petronas Gas Berhad have good cash flows and can allocate their dividend constantly in the future to the shareholders. Okay, next we move to the dividend yield ratio. The highest dividend yield ratio was 73.92% in 2020. The dividend yield ratio has been consistently increasing. This implies that Petronas Gas Berhad paid a very high dividend over the market value of its shares. This will entice a new investor money into the firm. Last but not least is price earning ratio. The highest price earning ratio was 4.3 in 2016. This illustrates that the company is having a higher market price over earning per share in the year 2016 compared to another year.
Comparative analysis financial performance in 2016 to 2020 between Petron Malaysia and Petronas Gas Berhad. The first one is current ratio. From the graph, it is clear that current ratio of Petronas Gas Berhad increasing from 2016 to 2018, but fall down in 2019 and 2020, and it is highest in the year of 2018. On the other hand, the current ratio of Petron Malaysia fluctuating from 2017 to 2020. It indicates the company ability to meet the short-term debt. Next, debt to equity ratio. The most lowest debt to equity ratio between these two companies is Petronas Gas Berhad in 2016, which is 36.12%. Although it is the most lowest within these 5 years compared to Petron Malaysia, it shows that this company does not rely on long-term creditors supplies fund than the owners fund compared to Petron Malaysia. Inventory turnover ratio. From the graph, it is clear that inventory turnover ratio of Petronas Gas Berhad is high in comparison to Petron Malaysia. It shows the company's efficiency in turning its inventory into sales. A low inventory rate indicates poor liquidity. Here, Petron Malaysia performance is not good in comparison to Petronas Gas. Fixed asset turnover. From the graph, it is clear that the ratio of Petron Malaysia were high in the year 2017 and 2018. Petronas Gas Berhad ratio was high in the year 2018 and 2020. It shows that Petron Malaysia has been more effective in using the investment in fixed asset to generate revenue. Operating profit margin. From the graph, it is clear that net operating profit margin of Petronas Gas Berhad is consistently good in the year 2016 to 2020, while Petron Malaysia net operating profit margin was high in 2016 and continuously decreasing. The last ratio of comparative analysis is return on asset. From the graph, you are able to tell that which Petron Malaysia return on asset is better in 2017, while Petronas Gas Berhad return on asset is better in 2020. Petron Malaysia return on asset employed fluctuates in these 3 years. It were high in 2017, and while low in 2018, 2019, and 2020. In conclusion, after analyzing the above ratio, it is clear that the position of Petronas Gas Berhad is better in comparison to Petron Malaysia. In above 20 ratio, which we see to graph and table, it is shown that in 11 ratio, Petronas Gas Berhad is performing better, while the position of Petron Malaysia is good. But in comparison to Petronas Gas Berhad, position was not good.